Hi guys, this is Sai Kumar Kortiwada. In this video, we will see about the login module. I have explained about the project structure and how to use that registration module and how to save the data into our mock API. I have explained completely in my registration module video. Please watch that for better understanding. Now we are going with login module. So how this login module will work, we will design that login page and then we will be using our reactive forms and create the validations for this login form. And once the login submission happens, we will be checking whether this user ID and password exist or not. If it does not exist, we will show an error message. That's what we will implement in this login module. Let me quickly jump into Visual Studio Code. So if you see here, we have created already app routing, and inside the app routing, we have a login page. So I have designed all the routings in my previous videos itself. I'll provide the link in the description. Please watch that for better understanding. Now let me go into our login.component.ts and login module. So let me check that login module whether we have imported all our requirements or not. As of now, we didn't imported our predefined modules and also material module. So whatever the material related components we want to use, then we have to import that particular module into this imports statement. And predefined is something like you will be having HTTP module, reactive forms module, all this will be given inside the predefined module. If you see the material module, all this like material related modules has been imported in this material module and exported from it. Now let me close this and go into our login.component.html and create our login page. So let me go into the browser. This is our register page yesterday which we have created, and let me click on already register. So you are in the login works page and we can design over here. What I'll do is, already we have created our registration page. So let me go into registration.component.html. Let me copy everything and put it over here. Okay, so that we can use all our CSS and stuff from this particular registration, and we will just change whatever we require. So let me go here and go into CSS. So we have only one thing like with 100%. Let me go into login CSS and just put that here, save this. And now what I'll do is I'll just remove all the unwanted stuff as of now. So we don't want this form, and I'll change this to login. And now inside the content, we have one material field and another material field. We want only two fields, that is email and password. So this is my first name. Let me remove this first name and let me remove this last name and first name. So now I have removed the last name and first name. This is related to the email, let it be. And this is mobile number. I don't want to use this mobile number. And then it is something related to the password. We need that password one, but we need only required field over here. We will see about the validation a bit later, and this is not needed. So let me remove this as well. And now this checkbox is also not required for us. So let me remove the checkbox as well. And instead of register, let me use login. And here already register. So we'll change this to do not have an account and question mark. Let me make it to register. So when the user clicks on this, he can navigate to register page. So save this, and you will be seeing a lot of errors. Maybe you can see here there are a lot of errors on submission. So what I'll do is just I'll remove this disable functionality. We will write once we implement our reactive forms. Let me go here and just comment this validation part over here, and just go here and let me comment this validation part over here. And now you have email and we have a form control. Let me remove this form control for now, and let me go here and just we'll use this is password hidden, and we will remove only this form control name. And let me copy this is password hidden. Let me go into our login.component.ts and put it over here. By default, let me make it as true, and save this and save this. Now let's check compilation has been successfully passed. Let me go here and you can see the login page, and you got an email and a password. And whenever I type this password and click this, you can see this. So till here we are done with the login page creation. If you want to move a bit down, we can do that. So here if you see, we are using margin top as 5, but this is the only space. now we want to use it as a customized UI. So what I'll do is just I'll go here and we'll pick this whole margin and just we'll give margin top as some 50 pixel, or go with more like 60 and use not important. Now you got only 60. So what I'll do is I'll make it as 20% maybe, and important. Yeah, so it came bit down. So now I'll use this margin top as 20%. So let me remove this and make it as margin top 20%. So let me copy this class name and make my own class like this. So let me use margin hyphen top as 20% and save this and save this. Let me go here and make it big. Okay, and now we are done with the creation of login component. Now what I want to do here, so if you see, let me put it over here. Yeah, and we have this login page. So now you are getting a scroll over here. Instead of margin, let me put it as padding top. So now you are not able to see the scroll, so let me make it as padding. So let me make it as P and go here and mark it as P and this one as padding top. Save this and save this. Go here. Now we need to have a form group where we will be building that by using form builder. Let me go into our TS and create a form. So let me use something called as login form, and this login form will be of type form group. This is my form group, and let me close this registration part. Now I'll use a constructor and we'll inject our form builder inside this form builder, and this is form builder. So now I have this form builder injected onto this. Let me use on init, and to use this on init, ng on init, we have to implement our interface called as on init. So I have imported that interface, and let me close this. So here what I'll do is on ng on init, I'll just get my login form, that is this dot login form is equal to this dot form builder dot group of, I want to add a group over here, and the group is something related to our email. One is email, that is empty by default, and we can use validators dot compose of, I can add two validations, validators dot required and validators dot pattern. Already we have the pattern inside our regular expression file, so I can get it from regular expressions dot email. So let me give comma, and coming to the password, we can give password control, and this is also empty, and let me give validators dot compose, and let me compose with one validation, that is validators dot required. Why I'm not giving pattern? Because if I give the pattern, people can hack that by trying different types of passwords. That's why I'm not giving this pattern logic to them. So if they see the pattern, if you are showing some message to them, then of course they will be trying with different combinations. So at some point of time it may be login. So that's why I'll not give the pattern or hint to the user in our login page. So let me go into login.html, and now what I'll do is I'll just add a form group over here, form group, and the group name is login form. Let me copy this and put it over here. This is form group, and for this we need a form control name. So form control name, and the control name is email. Let me copy this email and put it over here. Now we need the email validation. So instead of using registration form, I should use login form, login form, login form, login form, login form, and login form. And the control name is same, so I can use the same thing. Let me save this. Now for this input field, let me add a form control name, and the form control name is equivalent to password. So let me use password. Now let me enable this, and we don't have the pattern check. So let me remove this pattern check. And now I can use this as login form again, login form, and this as login form. Now again this as login form. So let me copy this and put it over here. Save this. Now the validation part is completed. So let's go and check this validation part. Let me quickly jump into browser, and here we will be checking that. Let me click on this, come outside. You can see email is required and password is required. So now what I'll do is I'll give a proper email, sai@gmail.com, something like this, and password sai@12345 whatever the password you want. And clicking on this login, we have to call an method in our TS, and we have to validate whether these credentials are registered with us or not. So for that sake, yesterday I have registered 2 users, if you see here, and if you see the data, I have sai@gmail.com and the password is sai@12345. And I'm saying that this is just a mock API. That's why you are able to see the password also. Please ignore if it is going into the real time, this password will be encrypted by our backend logic. But here we don't have any backend logic. So that's why we are able to see the data in this format. Now what I want to do, I want to check this email and the password. If the email entered in this login form and the password entered in this login form matches with at least one of this particular record, then we have to log in and we have to move the user to the next page. So now what I'll do is, on clicking on login, we will write our logic. So this type is submit. So what I'll do is I'll just go over here and write our ng submit logic. So ng submit, and I want to call a method called as login, and let me copy this login method and go to the TS, put it over here, login. Now to log in, we have that user values. That means if this dot login form is valid, then only I want to do some set of operations over here. So what I'll do is I'll just inject our service. So already we have a service called as user service. So let me inject that user service over here, user service, and we got it, this user service. And if you go into that user service, we have some set of interface and we have something called as get all users. So I can get these users, and this is an observable, so I can subscribe to that. So what I'll do is when the user clicks on login, so we will be validating whether that login form is valid or not. If it is valid, then we have to call this particular get users. So it is in user service. So let me get it from user service. This dot user service dot get all users, and it is an observable. Hence I should subscribe to that. You will be getting a user list. And once you get the user list, then you have to use this user list by a type of users, and it is an array. So I'm giving an array. Now what I want to do is I want to filter out this particular user list compared with the values what I have entered, that is email and password. So what I'll do is const filtered users is equal to user list dot filter, and this filter will have an object which is of type user, and this can be compared with our values obj dot email if it is equivalent to our this dot login form dot value question mark dot email if it is equivalent to email, and obj dot password if it is equivalent to this dot login form dot value question mark dot password. So if it is equal to password and if it is equal to email, then you will be getting this filtered users. So let me click a enter over here, and then let me make this as like this. So now your condition has been checked over here. Now you will be getting that filtered users. So what I'll do is, if my filtered users dot length is greater than 0, then it is successful login, else it is an error message. For showing our error messages, we can use a snack bar service. For now I'm using the direct snack bar service, that is private snack bar service. It is provided by our material mat snack bar, and now I can use the snack bar to show the message. So this dot snack bar service dot open, and I want to pass a message that is nothing but invalid user credentials, invalid user credentials. Now I will provide a action called as X, and here we can use a vertical position. Vertical position is at top and horizontal position is at right, and duration is something like 3000 milliseconds, and then we have something called as direction. The direction is always from left to right. Let me save this. Now this is a snack bar which we will be showing whenever we want to show a invalid user credentials. If it is a valid credentials, then I should not show anything. There is no need to show any snack bar. Instead, we will directly navigate the user to the dashboard. So let me go into this and inject a service called as router, and this is coming from router. So let me inject that router service, and once the user exists, then I can navigate the user to other page, that is dashboard. So router dot navigate of, it will take an array of values. So let me pass a dashboard value. So whenever I pass the dashboard, it should navigate to the admin layout, and inside the admin layout, it has to go into the dashboard. So let me save this login.component.html as well. Now there is one more thing which we are missing over here is disable functionality for our login. It should disabled when my login form dot invalid. So whenever my login form is invalid, it has to be in disabled state. So let's check login form. Yep, so we have written the login form. Let me go here. Now it is disabled, and whenever I type something and click on login, it will navigate and it will go to the dashboard. And whenever I click on sai@gmail.com with sai@12345 and I think that is the password which we gave over here, it is still 5. So let me remove one character. You can see here it is sai@12345, and let me click this again. Now what I'll do is I'll check the network over here, and once you click the login, so we are getting all the users and it has been navigated to the dashboard. This is something like a pop-up which is given by browser itself, so please ignore this. Let me click on OK. Now the user has been logged in and we are able to navigate to the dashboard. Now you can see admin layout works. That means we are inside the admin layout. And once the user login successfully, we have to get some set of IDs or the user details which should be stored in our local storage. Otherwise, in the upcoming APIs, we may not be able to trigger that APIs without these IDs. So for that sake, what I'll do is I'll be getting the response inside this filtered array. So if you see here, we got the filtered array, and this filtered users will have complete details about our user which we have logged in. So now what I'll do is I'll use this filtered users details and I'll store the data in our storage. So how can I store that? I can use something called as local storage dot set item of an item where the ID and the ID is filtered users of 0 dot ID, and I want one more thing called as UUID. So let me use set item of ID, that is UUID, and that ID is equal to filtered users of 0, that is 0 question mark dot, I can store that UUID as well. Now it is showing some error because we are getting as undefined also. Maybe we may be getting undefined also. So for that sake, let me convert into toString, and this one also let me convert into toString, so that you will be having only string data over here. So let's see what's the problem. Argument of type string or undefined is not assignable to the type of. Okay, so let me use like this, where if you have the ID, then store the ID, else we will be storing an empty string. Here also, if you have the UUID, store the UUID, else empty. Now we have UUID and the ID, and to showcase the username, we need first name and last name. So what I'll do is local storage dot set item of username. I'll just give the username, and this username, let me use it from filtered users of 0 dot first name combined with our space. So what I'll do, just I'll make it as like this, so that I can combine the strings over here and space. Now let me use filtered users of 0 dot last name. So these are the things which we may need in our dashboard. That's why we are storing them in the session storage or the local storage. Wherever the storage you want, you can use it and save this. Now we are using this ID, UUID and username strings here itself, but this is not always recommended. Why? Because if we are using this ID and if some other person want to get these values, it is very hard to check exact spelling. For example, here we have n as capital. If another developer tries to get this local storage value by using a small letter, then it will give you undefined. So that's why what we'll do is we will create a utility. Now the utility we will be creating in the common, and inside the utils what I'll do is I'll create a file called as local storage dot constants dot ts. So I have created a constants file. So better what we'll do is we'll create a new folder for constants, because utils always acts like a helper functions or helper files. So let me move this here into this, and let me create a constant export const local storage underscore keys is equal to the key. One of my key is ID. So let me use ID colon the ID which we want to store. This value will be stored in our local storage. And now let me give another values like UUID. So let me go and create UUID which is equivalent to UUID, and let me go with another one called as username. So user underscore name which is equivalent to our username. Let me copy this username and put it over here, save it. Now what I'll do is I'll use this local storage keys constant for assigning and getting the values. So I can use this local storage keys dot ID, and here I can use local storage keys dot UUID, and then local storage keys. So I can use something like local storage keys dot username. So now these all values will be stored once you are validated and you are a valid user. So let me go here into the browser. Now I have an email. Let me pass the email like sai@gmail.com, and now I want to give a password sai@12345, and go to your application. Here inside the application we have something called as local storage, and inside this local storage let me click login, and it has created three values. One is UID, UUID and username, and the username is the combination of first name and last name. So now we can use this whenever we want. These are the only basic things which I want to use in our application, and in future if you may require email, you can store the email as well. As of now we don't have the use of email, so I'm not storing that email over local storage. And now we are done with the login part. So that means we are successfully logging in, but we didn't check the invalid credentials part. So let me give sai@gmail.com, but I want to give something called as 1, and let me give the password random password. I gave some ABCD blah blah blah, and click on login. Okay, now you can see invalid user credentials. So now he will be coming here and come back and give the proper credentials, sai@12345, and click on login. It navigates to the dashboard. Let me go back, and when you click on cancel, let me check how that is working. When I click on the cancel, everything was cleared. Let me click on do not have any account, and it navigates to the register page. So let me remove some debugger over here, and it navigated to the register page. Already registered, then you can go to login page. So now we are done with the authentication and registration for our application. In the upcoming video we will see how to create our dashboard and how to create our navigation after logging in. So now we have completed our auth related screens, and from next video we will try to target for our layout components, and we will be creating a common header where on clicking on that headers we will be navigating from one page to another page. So in my next video we will target for creation of the top bar inside our dashboard, and we will be using that as a common component for all the remaining pages. So hope you like my explanation. If you like my video, like, share, subscribe to my channel for more updates. Signing off. Thank you.